Hello, everybody. It's Anthony Brogdon. I'm your guide for Black history in my own way. Because let me tell you what I do. If you don't know, I find these caring, intelligent, optimistic, good people to come on the channel, like my guest today. Watch out, this lady gonna put it on you, and you're gonna be shocked at her breadth of knowledge. She put together an exhibit that's world renowned out of her town, in this museum that is emerging on the scene nationally as a result of coming on Strong Inspirations. I'm gonna let her tell the story. But it's incredible that no matter where we are in America, there are people with a consciousness to want to tell the complete story. It's not just Black history, it's American history, and they do that to chronicle it. Everybody hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspirations. It's free, it don't cost no money, we don't ask no information. It just let me know you like me, and I like you already, and there's nothing you can do about it. I know you're watching me. I get messages every now and then. Hey man, I like the way you ask the questions. I like the people you got coming on. I'm like, yeah, cool. Tell somebody. Let this thing flow. This is an easy and simple way, and it's free for you, my guests. Not my guests, it's free for you, my viewers, to watch it. So it's no excuse. This is a win-win for everybody here at Strong Inspirations. Hit the like button on this video. I know she's gonna tell you something that you're gonna be like, whoa, I never heard that before. So like the video. Hit the notifications bell, because I put up 3-4 videos a week. Did you see the one I did with the lady out of London, England, who runs the UK Society of Genealogists, and said because she's an African-American biracial sister, she gonna make sure that the brothers and sisters use her services to find their family reunions, when before that was not necessarily the case? Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the guy out of South Africa who says he's colored and he lived through apartheid? And really, he really brought it home, like apartheid wasn't nothing more but Jim Crow. Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the lady who says, well, you know, Juneteenth is a big holiday and we all understand that, but where we're located, we celebrate a thing called the 8th of August. That's our Juneteenth. Watch that video. Did you see the one that I did with a lady who says her grandfather, once he got his freedom, and there was this thing called Back to Africa movement, and they went to Liberia, her grandfather did that? And then when she was born, they left Liberia and moved to Sierra Leone, and she grew up there. She was between there and Washington, D.C. Watch that video. Oh man, we jamming here at Strong Inspirations, and I know you're gonna like the lady on the channel. She's smiling. I know you're gonna like her. Watch out. I can tell she got a warm personality.
Thank you.
She got a, what? She gonna warm you over. I don't know how I find it. Let me tell you what happened. I tell you what happened is I Googled museums, and her museum came up. And so I talked to the lady. She said, well, we're not necessarily just a Black museum, and she'll tell you all the scenarios, but we do got an exhibit here that is really, really powerful. I'm gonna put you in touch with the lady who helped do the exhibit. And that's my guess. Now, everybody, a couple more things. As you might know by now, I'm having my own Black History Festival in Kansas City, Kansas. It's called Freedom Quindaro. Missouri was a slave state. Kansas was a free state. They used to try to sneak across that river, and it was rather narrow right at this part called Quindaro, Kansas City. And once they got over there, they told that guy, man, you come over here, we're gonna shoot back. This thing is not, one of us ain't going back, and it ain't me. And I interviewed a guy whose great-great-grandfather did that. I was so enthralled with the story. I said, hey, I want to go see this. And I'm not gonna go by myself. So let me invite people so I can take 1,000 of you all to come with me. Very reasonable. I'm going to feed you the whole weekend. We're going to party in a barn on Friday night, wear your dusty blue jeans. We're going to tour the area on Saturday morning. And then about 2 o'clock, the picnic start, and it's going to be off the chains. You're going to be like, ooh, I had a lot of fun. And then, let me back. On Friday night, we're going to, I got a little opportunity to do swimming in the hotel swimming pool. So y'all can come and hang out. You know, we do that till about 12. I ain't gonna keep you up late, you know, because we got a full day on Saturday. Now, it's called Freedom Quindaro. It's Memorial Day weekend, May 27th through the 29th. For all ages, kids can come, you know, so on and so forth. And it's gonna be a good time. And so go to businessintheblack.net, where that's my website. And then just go to the category festival and you'll see all the information. And then, as you might know, I'm a filmmaker, everybody. I did this documentary called Business in the Black. It chronicles the rise of Black business in America. And there are stories in this film that I was amazed to hear. They didn't teach it. It would have made me too proud, and they didn't want that to happen. So when I found it, I put it in a movie form, and it's streaming on Amazon. I took it to the next level, and then I wrote this book about it. And it's got even more facts. I did more research, over 200 of them. It's amazing information that's gonna blow your mind, I promise you. I'm so confident if you buy my book and you don't learn nothing new, I'll give your money back. How about that? A book with a money back guarantee? Yes, here it is. Get you a copy of that. I'll autograph it for you. And we send it right on and you get it, so on and so forth. Every 10th book I sell, I donate one to a school. You buy 10 of them, I donate them to a school in your honor. However you want it to go. Let people hear this information. It's called Black Business Book. It's again on my website, businessintheblack.net. Now you hear me use this word strong a lot. It's my favorite word. I wish my last name or my middle name was strong, but in that it's not. I use it on everything. And so strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to my guest today. She's a strong lady coming out of her town. Everybody loves her for what she does, how conscious she is. Come on, introduce yourself on Strong Inspiration. Thank you for being on the channel.
And thank you, Mr. Strong. So my name is Alana Gomez. I'm currently in Gainesville, Florida, a small college town where the University of Florida is. And the exhibit Mr. Strong is talking about is an exhibit I did based on my senior thesis. And I'll get into the topic in a second, but I really like what Mr. Strong said about showing a whole story, showing the whole truth of a story, and how Black history is American history. So those are the two main points I address in that exhibit, because that's something I feel people in Gainesville, people across America, people especially at UF don't know.
Let me stop you there.
Yeah.
I don't mean no disrespect. I got to ask a couple questions about you. Well, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in South Florida, in West Palm. My grandparents are all immigrants. My father's Hispanic, my mom's Italian. So I grew up with a lot of culture, and I grew up with a lot of different people in my life. So that kind of got me as a young person.
Okay.
Addressing certain things.
Did you grow up, did you grow up in a mixed neighborhood, a predominantly white neighborhood? What was that dynamic?
Mixed, for sure, mixed.
Oh, really?
And like I said, it was South Florida, so there were a lot of people from the Caribbean. There's a lot of generational African Americans. There's a lot of Hispanics. There's a lot of white people. So it's a very good mix, I'd say, to raise a conscious person in.
So all that did raise you to have a sense of consciousness. So it wasn't like, don't go over there, be careful. To some extent, I understand, understandably, but you had an open eye view of nationalities.
Yeah, for sure, especially both my grandparents being immigrants. I definitely understood the fact of being different or being a minority very early in life.
Let me, I got a couple more questions on this. I like this, where you're going with it, and you seem to be open to it. When you feel that way, when you meet people who aren't like that, how do you deal with them who, in the back room, they're talking about other people? Can you stand up and say something, or you just kind of, I don't want to be friends with them, or I keep it quiet? How might that dynamic go?
Definitely stand up and say something. If somebody needs to be educated on something, I think it's your responsibility as a person who should be empathetic toward other groups to educate them. That doesn't have to be mean, that doesn't have to be rude, but just to let someone know a different viewpoint other than theirs. If it doesn't work, hey, you tried. If it does, that means someone else is out there thinking like you and like other people.
When you, because of what you do and exhibit and your love, was there something that, was there a ha moment for you that said, okay, what they've been telling me is incorrect, is not the full story, and this is
Yeah,
why I've decided to want to do this?
for sure. I got to UF and I was a doe-eyed freshman, very excited to attend this great school without thinking about all the other implications of going to a predominantly white university, which it is a predominantly white university. I think
What school is this again?
University of Florida.
Yeah, Florida. Okay.
So we actually do have only, I think, a 6% Black population. I think it's like 13% Hispanic, and part of that's a white population.
Sure.
And then it's probably like definitely over 50% white. So when I started to get into the history department, I was a history and English major. I decided to do my senior thesis, which is just a very long project where you write a paper in the end. And one of my professors said, hey, why don't you do it on Black Thursday? And I was like, what is that? And he begins to tell me this very long story where 66 Black students were arrested in peaceful protests on campus. And I was like, how is it something I don't know? Not only as a history major, but as someone who attends this school. I asked all my friends, nobody knew about it. And it blew my mind that something like that wasn't talked about at a university where ideas and intelligence are supposed to be spread.
When you decided that you wanted to use history as a career path, what did you think you would do with it?
That's a great question. I wasn't sure in the beginning. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to do civil rights law in the beginning. I wanted to make a difference through that channel. But as I got a little bit older, I realized I didn't like law so much. I just really liked helping minority communities, especially coming from a background of a minority community. So I realized that there's other ways to do that by educating people, by providing community centers for minority communities, by bringing their history to light. Those are all things that can empower these communities. And I realized I like that a lot more.
Is there, so how did that thesis go? What was the story behind that, that what had happened at the university you just alluded to? Tell us about it. We never heard.
Yes, neither had I at that point. So it was called Black Thursday, and it was 1971. So the whole period of the late 60s to the early 70s, as the audience may or may not know, was great turmoil in the US because there was the Black campus movement, there was the civil rights movement, there was the Vietnam War protests. Basically, any college student who didn't like the establishment, who didn't like whatever, was out there protesting for greater civil rights or for people not to go to war. So during this time period, UF brought in a former Florida Supreme Court judge to kind of crack down on things and get UF into shape, basically, because there were a lot of protests going on at the time. And a little bit background about this judge, his name was Stephen C. O'Connell. He actually was one of the Florida Supreme Court judges that helped, well, not helped, but helped take away the admission of the first Black man, Virgil Hawkins, to apply to UF. So before he even came to UF, students knew that he was out there pushing segregation. And at this time, Florida had just been recently integrated in 1957, I think. So by the time he got there, there were only around 300 Black students, I think, out of 50,000 students in total. So basically, the Black students at the time in 1971, they had submitted in May of 1970 a list of proposals just saying, hey, we want to put this on your radar. please listen to us, please meet with us. We want to get more Black faculty in here. We want to get more Black students in here. It's really hard to attend this university without seeing people who look like us in positions of power. We want a Black studies program. Nobody's out here teaching anything we know. This isn't very fair. We want to approach this in a very respectful manner. Nothing for a year. So April 1971, almost a year in total after those suggestions were sent in, they said, okay, we're going to go straight to this man, President O'Connell, the former Florida Supreme Court judge, and we're going to give him these demands in person so he can't deny us. And that's all they did. They went to his office. They were like, we're here. Here's our demands. This is them. They signed the letter. They said, love and kisses, the Black Student Union. They were very polite about it. And President O'Connell said, if you don't get out, I'm calling the police and you'll all be arrested. And they were like, for standing here? What do you mean? So they left. They came back in another protest. He threatened them again. They left. They came back again one last time. And in that time, 66 Black students were arrested, peacefully protesting. And after that, a bunch of allies, white, Black, Hispanic, came out from the university. I don't know, maybe there were some for the Gainesville community, I'm not sure. And just, I think there were like a crowd of 300 of them just protesting, yelling, release those students. President O'Connell brought more police on campus. Those students were tear gassed, they were arrested. And all of this is just under the carpet, nobody knows. And that was on our main campus near one of the libraries.
Was there one student that really was from the Black students that was the most vocal, kind of the leader of the bunch?
Yeah, there's a couple. There was Kip Smith, I know his name. He was one of the student leaders. There was Joseph McLeod. He, in his oral history interview, talked about he had a certain title. It was like defender or something. I'm forgetting it right now, but he was in charge of like opening and closing the doors and being like a lookout. So there was definitely, it was an organized protest, but a peaceful organized protest.
Now in 71, some of them might still be alive. Have you ever met any of them, or have they ever come to the university to speak or something like that?
Yeah, so I actually was only able to get in contact with one of them. Her name is Dr. Betty Stewart Fullwood. So she had attended that year and she was part of the third group. She didn't get arrested, but she was there for the protest. And she did withdraw along with 123 other Black students withdrawing from UF. And 2 Black faculty members also withdrew after this incident. So she was one of the ones who withdrew. And later on, she actually came back, finished her undergrad, got her master's, and got her doctorate from UF. So she's a very interesting story. And we actually named the exhibit kind of after something that she said.
Yeah, I love it. So now there were, but was there any violence towards them other than being arrested? That they wasn't beat or anything like that, though?
No, that came in the protest that came after, when the 300 around allies came out and basically protested for O'Connell to resign. That's the President O'Connell, and for the students to be given full amnesty and returned. That's when kind of violence happened and police came out in riot gear.
Oh, so okay, because there's another case similar to that in I think it's a college in Ohio, but people were killed in that instance. You know what I'm talking about?
I think that's Kent State, and that was for
Kent State, right?
Yeah, and that was for the Vietnam War protests. So at the same time, this Black campus movement's happening, because what happened at UF with Black Thursday was not out of the ordinary. There were many protests happening on these campuses with Black students leading them, saying, hey, we need better inclusion at these universities. So at the same time that was happening, Vietnam War protests were happening, and presidents of universities all over the country were deciding whether to help out with these and be inclusive of these protests, or to crack down on them and arrest students, like what happened at UF.
What was what finally happened? How did it, what was the end of the story?
Yeah, so like I said, 123 Black students withdrew. So that's a large, there were only around 300 and something at the time. So that's a lot. That could be almost half at that point of the Black students attending UF withdrew. 2 Black faculty members withdrew. And the students were released. I don't know about the full amnesty, but I think they probably ended up withdrawing because they were like, why did I just get arrested for this? And President O'Connell actually did give in to some of these demands. He helped make not really, he was forced by these protests. but he allowed through an Institute of Black Culture, which was created in 1972. In February after that year, there were new recruitment programs made to call into Black radio stations and Black high schools to recruit students to UF. And then there were a couple other small movements, small changes. And that's why Dr. Stewart Fullwood, who I mentioned, actually came back and got her master's and her doctorate, because she said she saw change and she wanted to be a part of that change.
But the president, he withstood that. He didn't end up resigning or anything like that.
No, I think he resigned or left a year or two later, but yeah,
Okay.
he didn't do it immediately.
Is there something to commemorate that that event, or is there a
No.
marker on the university or anything like that?
No, not at all. And that's why it's something that I didn't know about and nobody else really knows about, because it's just not talked about at UF, which is insane to me, because you're not giving these students the power they deserve, the power in their memory, and you're not showing minority students today, Black, Hispanic, whatever, that they have the power to make change and they are powerful in their place here at UF. It's just totally breezing past all that. So that's one of the reasons I actually made this exhibit, because I said, hey, if UF won't do it, I will as a historian, even if it's off campus, even if it's in downtown Gainesville and not on the UF campus, it'll be here for people to come see.
But so what, okay, would you like to see there be some historical marker on the campus?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. That was a question I asked the president of the Black Student Union at the time, some of the people I interviewed, and the consensus from, I guess, those members of the community was that they'd rather see actual change than a commemoration. We still have a very low Black student population. I guess from a historical standpoint, I don't know if a historical marker is as important as UF actually taking it upon themselves to educate their students about this event. I think that would be much better.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
maybe we could do both. I mean, one is just
yeah,
a $500 investment in some kind
yeah.
of plaque, and then the other is could there, and I don't know, because of your exhibit, could there be a Black, what do you call it, Black Thursday Day, where they talk about this on an annual basis or something like that, to bring recognition and have speakers come in and talk about protests?
So that does happen every year, I believe, by the Institute of Black Culture and Black Affairs. So that's
Okay.
separate. It's not, but it's not like UF is putting that on. They're kind of leaving it for that community to do on their own. And I think the Institute of Black Culture, which is across the campus, does have a wall dedicated to Black Thursday, but you'd have to be a Black student or a historian to even know what Black Thursday is, basically. And what I forgot to mention is that President O'Connell, the man who was involved in this, his name is on our basketball stadium. So that's something that's quite a contention these days. A lot of Black students want to see that name gone. They want to see him named after something else, maybe like maybe the first Black student who went to UF, somebody else who did a great change for Black people instead of President O'Connell. But that's another question. Does it really matter if you change the name? It's more about commemorating the event.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's another topic in the mix at this point.
Yeah, for sure. What now? I guess, but what you get out of this, and this is more of a question, is the power of bringing attention to injustices. Really, that is one weapon to fight against the injustice, because there are going to be conscious people from all races that say, okay, we hear about it, now I don't like it, and I want to step up, and all I want to do is walk down the street and hopefully get media attention to this injustice. Isn't that really the angle?
Yeah, that's true. And I've had, I think that's a great point. It's about infecting other people with that drive for, hey, this is something that wasn't right. Why don't we talk about it more? And the way to do that is by educating people and letting people know about something. And it's amazing the amount of people. I sat next to someone on the bus the other day and she was looking at pictures of my exhibit and I was like, hey, I did that. That's cool. Thank you for going. And she was like, I've never known about this. I've been here for years. Like, thank you for putting this up. Another woman, an older white woman had come to my exhibit. She was like, I was there that year, or I was there a couple of years after. I never knew about this. Like, this is so interesting. So people are definitely catching on that this is something that UF has not necessarily talked about, but should be talked about.
let's go to the exhibit itself. The exhibit is housed where? What's the name of the museum? Where's the museum?
Yes.
And even give me, before we go into what's in exhibit, how you approach them to say, hey, I got this idea. Were you already working there? That kind of thing. Just give
Yeah,
us
that's
that story.
actually a good point. So it's the Matheson Museum in downtown Gainesville, Florida. Like I said, it's off campus, but Gainesville is a small town, so it's really just 10 minutes from campus. And the way I approached it is I originally spoke to the director there. Her name's Caitlin Hoff Mahoney. When I first started my thesis in September of 2020, and she basically gave me some materials. She was like, here's our museum. Please feel to look through our libraries and find any resources you need. And I was like, great, this is a cute small museum. It seems like a lot of people come here to see local Gainesville history. This is really nice. So when I finished up my thesis, it got me thinking, wait a second, this is a museum that needs a new exhibit. And this information that I have needs to be shown to the public. And I was like, why don't I just call Caitlin and see if she'd be into something like that? So I did, and she was basically like, yeah, that'd be great. We could use a new exhibit. If you're willing to put in the labor, I'll supervise you. And we could definitely do that.
How long did it take to put the exhibit up, and what's in the exhibit? What do you see when you see the exhibit?
So I wrote my thesis beforehand, which was helpful because then all the research for the exhibit was done. Usually when you make an exhibit, you're researching, then putting it together. So I only had to do basically the putting it together part. So I did that from May of 2021 to February of 2022. And then when you see the exhibit, so it is a small museum, so it's a small exhibit, it's one room. It covers a little bit of the Gainesville civil rights movement, just to give some context to what was happening at the time. It's not the full civil rights movement in Gainesville, because obviously I couldn't cover that. And there are a lot of people who were probably involved with the civil rights movement in their own ways. So that's in the beginning. Then it goes over the Black campus movement and what that was. Then it goes into President O'Connell, who he was, and how there was such a small number of Black students at UF during that time, and what that kind of did to the university. And then it goes into Black Thursday, the effects of Black Thursday, and into today, how we still have Black students demanding change. And there's an oral history section where you can go into a little closed off box and listen to oral histories from some of the first Black students at UF, people at Black Thursday. And yeah, I think that's it.
And so was there a big kickoff reception and you got dressed up real nice and walked the red carpet and all that when it first, the opening of the exhibit?
So our plan was to open in January, but we had to push things back. So it actually got opened in February, which was not our intention, even though it was Black History Month.
Yeah.
We weren't trying to do something for Black History Month, because I like to say, as one of my previous employers has said, that Black history should be 365. So as with any other minority history. So that wasn't our intention, but it did open in February. And at that point, the new variants, I forgot which one at this point, was with COVID was out. So we decided not to do an event, but we are hosting an event April 14th at 7 p.m. because that is the 51st anniversary of Black Thursday. It's a day before, but
Okay.
we're just going to do an anniversary event.
Well, and what do you call the event? You got a title for it, you said?
I think we're just calling it the 51st anniversary of Black Thursday.
When you did this, and this was your thesis, do you want to turn this into a book?
That's a good question. I actually have a kind of mentor and professor. He's the African American Studies Department head. He's actually writing a book, I think, about the Black campus movement. And so I think he'll cover everything. I trust him to do that. And he actually asked me for some resources. So I feel like my work will be a little bit reflected in that. But if it turned into a book one day, maybe. I am moving on to grad school somewhere else. So I won't have as much involvement here in Gainesville anymore. So I'm not sure.
So you are you're in college now. You're in undergrad? I
graduated last year.
Okay.
So I'm not in college right now.
Okay. And when you did this, did the people at the University of Florida hear about it? And did it get any traction at the university with the professors, with the administration, or anything like that?
Within the Black Student Union, yes, they promoted it on their social media. But and professors as well, I actually emailed like every department at UF saying, hey, this is gonna happen. You're invited to come. You can give your students extra credit, whatever. Please tell people about it. And I did email our current president, President Kent Fox, and he actually responded and said he would go and share it with the vice president of communications, but I never received an email from UF. So I don't think he shared it with anyone, but oh well, I did my part in that.
This is a really big move for you as you launch your career. Is that how you feel about it? And this is a part of your personal premise in terms of Black is opening up the eyes to stories. Is there a particular angle as you move along in your career that you want to follow, you want to study, you want to focus on, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the program I am going into next for my master's is public history, which is basically the front-facing area of history. So it's museums, it's oral history programs, it's exhibits, it's things like that. Anything that brings the back of history to the front of people's minds and people's visions. So that's what I'm moving toward because yeah, I really like the idea of working with these marginalized communities, whether that be Black, whether that be Hispanic, whether that be Indigenous, and helping bring their stories because nobody else is going to tell them to the front of people's view.
As we kind of almost come to close, what's a good day for somebody like you? When I know it was when you said that lady was sitting there and she said she was looking at your exhibit. You ran home, you told everybody, hey, I was somebody was looking at it. That's a good day when someone says that you did something that it accomplished what you wanted to accomplish by opening their eyes. That's my question, I guess.
Yeah, I say a good day. The proudest I've felt is when someone's told me I never knew about this, and I learned something. Like that was the whole point of the exhibit. So it's good to know that. My boss, Caitlin Hoff-Mahoney, the director of the Matheson Museum, she also told me that one day a bunch of high schoolers came in and she said they were actually reading through the exhibit and asking questions like, why is this president's name still on the basketball stadium? And that just shows me that I was able to make it clear for a high school age group. And also they were thinking about it after. And that just means the world to me because that means it is passing on. People are thinking about this now.
Is there something in the future for you in terms of a particular Black history moment that you want to learn more about or not just Black history, but in general that you want to learn more about and maybe find something that no one knows?
Not in particular. I would just like to continue on this path of kind of uncovering hidden stories and bringing them out to the public. That's what I've always wanted to do. I've just found the profession now that I think can help me do it. And whether that be with Black communities or different other marginalized communities or minority communities, I'm excited to help whoever needs it, I guess.
The museum itself is, do you know of some of the other exhibits and the history of the museum? Do you know that so that people, the viewers can say what else is there?
Yeah, so it's a small museum, as I said, in downtown Gainesville. It has two main exhibits, and they are revolving. Well, there's three exhibits, I guess. The first one is a permanent exhibit on local Indigenous populations in Gainesville and their history. And then there's two revolving exhibits that always change. So the first one that's up right now is a women's history exhibit that was put up last March. In the back room right now is my exhibit on Black Thursday. But yeah, it's just a small museum. Its history is that there was another actually woman who was passionate about history and said we should open a museum for the Gainesville community. And she did that. And that's what the Matheson Museum is.
I don't know. Hopefully it's not too personal. When you did this, let me ask this way. You put a lot of time and effort in it, but did I don't know, I guess, and this is not lying. Did they pay you to do this, or you just said, hey, this is something that I want to do and I'm gonna take my own time and that kind of thing?
No, that's a great question. I don't mind answering it because a lot of this work is unpaid. It's volunteer.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, most civil rights work I feel like is. So when I did first sign on, yeah, they had no money in the budget. She was like, "You're an intern, you can put it on your resume, but this is volunteer work." And I was like, "Okay." But they
Yeah,
actually did surprise me before I left,
yeah,
and gave me some money for doing the
yeah.
exhibit, which was nice.
Yeah, and this also goes to when you know that you're going to study history or spend your time helping other people like this. That's not a big money making career path. It's not engineering. It's not law or something like that. I mean, it pays well. I mean, you get to the doctorate and you teach and stuff like that. So it's really got to be a person's personal passion to
Mhm,
want to do this. This is your passion.
mhm. Yeah,
And the money is, I got to live and eat and I got to make a way. But my glory is not that I got $1 for doing it. My glory is somebody said something.
yeah, for sure. I guess I'll have to marry rich. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm just wondering. Yeah,
Yeah, it is a passion for sure. But like I said, my background and having come from immigrants, I think I just felt almost like not I owed it to other minority populations, but somebody was strong enough to put me here, coming from a very low background in terms of America. I should be the one, I guess, or someone to help pass that on, pass that empowerment on to someone else. So,
yeah, I love it. I love
mhm.
it. It's a beautiful thing. And, I think at the end of the day, one of the things that help, money isn't all the only criteria. I mean, I got enough money, I can go eat out to dinner, a roof over my head. It's not the biggest house or something like that. But then I got all these other things that go along with it. Those not describable type stuff.
Mhm.
Not you don't drive it.
Yeah.
That I sleep well, and
Mhm.
I got this good feeling that I've done something to help somebody.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's kind of the motivation too. What's the name of what's the website of the museum, and
I
how do we
want to,
follow you all and that kind of thing?
yeah, I want to say it's mathesonmuseum.org, but if you just
Okay.
type in Matheson Museum Gainesville in the internet, it should pop up. And that's Matheson, Matheson.
Right. I love it. Well, hey, thank you so much for hold on before I say that. Is there a question that I have not asked you that comes to mind, something that you wanted to share with us offhand, anything like
I
that?
don't think so. No.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on strong. I told you, did I tell you, man, y'all can feel that compassion out this lady. She's in the early stages of her career. And because she took it to the next level and said, hey, I heard this story. And then she called somebody and said, I want to tell the story. I want the story to get out. I want it to be more than just a paper. Then she took her time to drive to the museum, spend hours at a day, to go places, to get to interview the people and stuff like that, to put the museum, the exhibit together. That's a beautiful thing. And all this kind of I'm summing up on my own way. All this kind of come up because something clicked in her early years growing up. And she's smart anyway, got all A's in grade school, high school, and all that, and probably blowing out college. That this is the direction that I'm gonna take heed of this. That's how I sum it up, everybody, on Strong Inspirations with my guest today. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button on this video because we succinctly gave it to you, straight, no chaser. Hit the notifications bell. Tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. People go down there and see the museum, see the exhibit. Support the museum because the museum is conscious enough to say, okay, we want this. Because they could have said, hey, we don't really have no Black history stuff up in here. They could have said that, and we're not going into that, but they didn't say that. And there it is. Tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. Check out the museum when you're in the Gainesville area. And to you, I say with all sincerity, and I mean this, I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. We're going to hear it from you again. Watch. It's just a matter of time. You got to go through some more educational type stuff. And even during that time, as we know, you come out, you come out of them books and then do something great. Continue to do that. We really appreciate you. And to the people at the museum, thanks for allowing her to come on and telling us about that exhibit. Because it was just off the cuff. I happened to call. It was just a museum on the list. And she said, oh yeah, I know the lady you need to talk to. And boom, chaka-laka, there it is. I appreciate it. With that, I say bye-bye. We have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.